episode number 83 of the KH-Vids Podcast. This week we're going to be talking about sequels, and the clever title this week is Sequel Rights. Ha 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 ha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Calm down.
So with us today you have your usual hosts, of course myself, Misty.
And me, libregkd.
And me, Calxiyn.
And we actually have a member guest this week because I was on point this week, and that is...
Hi, my name's Chris, a Locked On Gamer. Glad to be here.
Yes, and you actually joined, like, a couple days ago, and I'm always so excited to see people join and be like, I listen to the podcast, because that means that there are people on this planet that actually listen to the podcast.
Well, you're the only guys who are actually doing it regularly as well, you know, every week. So, yeah, that's something I really like about the podcast.
Yay. Yeah, when we
Consistency.
when we took over the podcast, I think it was it was actually around episode 39 that we took it over. Then we were like, let's do it weekly, because we'd done them like irregularly before, and I think that interferes with people like actually getting into the podcast. So yeah, I like to do it regularly.
Yeah, I think it was around March last year, actually.
Wow, we might have to have like a special podcast.
I need to look at the date. I need to look at the date of the first one, but I think it was around like sometime in the middle of March or something like that.
Oh yeah, and happy March! It's March today, so that's...
Oh yeah, it is March.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
February's big on.
Yeah, and it snowed yesterday, so...
It rained here yesterday, which is a rarity, which I was actually happy about that.
The snow just needs to go away. It's already March. It's done. I've had enough.
I have no experience with snow. I imagine that it is very annoying to deal with.
I love snow. I love looking at snow, and I love watching snowfall, but yesterday, for the first time this winter, I had to shovel snow, because my mom's boyfriend usually does it with his snowplow, but he wasn't available to do that, so I had to shovel the snow. I was out there for 2 hours, and my back is killing me, so...
When you left yesterday, and then when you came back, and like, that doesn't... I've never had to shovel snow, but it sounds like a very...
It's horrible. It's the worst, especially when you have a massive driveway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's terrible. So yeah, but I did that. Yep. Okay, so we'll dive into Kingdom Hearts news and updates, and it's somber news this week, sad news. Leonard Nimoy, who is most famous for playing Spock in Star Trek, but who voiced Master Xehanort in the Kingdom Hearts series, passed away on Friday after a battle with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. He was 83, and everybody is just kind of grieving for poor Spock, because it's sad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he's kind of well liked.
He's a legend, man.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. He's been doing a lot of stuff. He's done directing. I think he's an artist at some point. He's done a lot in the Hollywood industry, as well as acting that a lot of people don't actually know about. So yeah, he's the thing I know him best for is Master Xehanort, of course, because I haven't watched Star Trek the original series. But Kingdom Hearts is the main thing I know him for, and I think he did an excellent job as Master Xehanort, and it's sad to see him go.
It is definitely sad. I mean, I've said before that I wasn't a fan of Master Xehanort's voice in Birth by Sleep, but that's not really the time to bring that up.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm curious. I mean, just talking about this Kingdom Hearts series going forward, because now both Master Xehanorts, both Japanese and English, have passed away this year.
Weeks ago.
So it's
Japanese guy passed away. So
it's
the role might be like cursed. It might be like Defense Against the Dark Arts in Harry Potter.
My mom said that exact same thing, because I told her that the other Xehanort died a couple months ago, and first she said that, and then she was saying something about the Illuminati, and I'm like, Mom, this isn't the time. Let her Nimoy just... When I saw the thread, I thought it was in the spam zone, because I saw it on my phone and I couldn't see where it was, and I thought, okay, somebody was just kidding around, but then I called my mom, and she confirmed it for me, and I was like in tears in my media arts classroom, and the teacher was like, are you okay? What's wrong? And I was just like, Leonard Nimoy, sir! But I don't know, he didn't know either.
I Thursday or Wednesday, I was reading a report that he was, he went to a hospital because
he was hospitalized a couple days before. Yeah, so it wasn't like a huge shock, because I knew that he'd been hospitalized, but it's still very sad. So, from the KH-Vids podcast, we have to do the live long and prosper, so I hope you're all making the sign with your hands. If you can. Apparently, some people can't do it. If you know what it is, which is troubling now. Yeah, okay. So, Leonard Nimoy did pass away, so rest in peace, Spock, Master Xehanort. Cal, actually, I like that your mom knew who Master Xehanort was, that you could say to her,
that's pretty cool.
The voice actor for Master Xehanort passed away. Okay, so to move along into our topic, like I said,
that is so sad that that's the only bit of news.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like Kingdom Hearts news. It's just like somebody involved with Kingdom Hearts.
It's related.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard that with Final Fantasy 15, they're actually nearing completion. They're at 60%, and I think the director of the game, I can't remember what his name was, he said that the end is near. Like they can actually see it. It's to the end of the tunnel. So that's exciting for Kingdom Hearts 3. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 news will definitely pick up once Final Fantasy 15
Type 0 comes out. Maybe.
Yeah, Type 0 and when 15 not comes out, but maybe is like kind of done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is the ability to wait for that, but I also am always skeptical of Final Fantasy 15, and I don't feel it will ever be done. I still don't, I've gotten so used to Final Fantasy 15 being this, joke, that to see it, nearing completion, it's so strange.
It's weird because in just a few weeks, people are going to have a demo to play.
I know! That's
The thing is, as well, that with the demo being out, that means that the game is able to run, and that's actually one of the last moments of development. Taking a university class in this right now, so that's one of the last parts.
There's a lot of this. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the demo that isn't actually there. Like, there's no magic, there's no vehicles, so you're basically walking everywhere, which in an open world map like that doesn't sound very fun. But yeah, it's weird.
It's just going to be so strange to be able to play it. I feel like for half my life, this game has not been a thing. And so it's so strange.
Close because it's almost
it was announced in 2005?
It's 2006, so almost 10 years.
Okay, almost 10 years, because I was born in 94, so... Oh, wow.
I was in middle school when this was announced.
Oh, man. I was... Wow. All right. I was not even in middle school when Final Fantasy 15 was announced.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
Yeah, I know.
Way to make yourselves feel old, guys.
Cal, you're this game was announced when you were born. That's
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I would have been what, 5? Maybe?
Oh God,
not 5.
Wow.
When was it announced? 2006. I would have been
2006.
6. So I would have just started playing Kingdom Hearts when it was.
You were
announced.
born in 2000.
1999, but my
Okay.
birthday's in December, so...
Okay, I wouldn't be able to handle it if you were born in
we're
2000.
Gonna get... People who were born no longer in the 90s are starting to...
I can't think about that. Okay, so back on topic. We're going to be talking about sequels this week. So today, sequels are pretty much expected out of movies and games and books and everything. I think we just live in sequel culture today. And especially speaking as somebody that works in a movie theater, there are weeks that we just have sequels and nothing else. So there are a lot of sequels today. Yes. So their quality, however, can be a bit variable. Yeah, variable, shall we say. So I want to ask first off is what do you expect out of a sequel? What does the sequel have to do or not do to really deliver for you?
This is kind of a weird question just because it's kind of dependent on the thing getting a sequel. Everybody expects it to at least be of the same quality as the original.
They hope.
I mean, I think that's kind of just the standard for any sequel ever, is that because I don't think anybody hopes that a sequel is worse than...
I mean, if you hated the first one, you might want the sequel to tank. That way you don't have to think about it anymore. Final Fantasy 13.
That is such a weird thing because the sequel quality half got better. The story got worse somehow. The story got the story just went to absolute it just was awful. But everything else got better. Which I mean I don't know if I'd say the sequels are better than 13 or not, because 13 at least has that charm of being hey, we're trying something. Then the sequels are we're going to continue trying that something even if it didn't really work the first time around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, sequels are, I at least always hope that they'd be somewhat related to the first one, in terms of atmosphere and sometimes story. Mm-hmm. Because if you're talking about sequels I don't know, The Last of Us, if we're talking about a sequel to that, I wouldn't want a sequel to that particular story. I want something that's somewhat grounded within that world because there's just so much they can kind of do with that.
Right.
But if you're talking something like Mass Effect or something like that, I would actually, that's probably a bad example because the next Mass Effect probably isn't going to be related at all.
But the like existing Mass Effect sequels.
Okay, if you're talking about Kingdom Hearts 3, I would hope that has at least something related to the story that's been going on.
It has to.
Because I mean, if it doesn't, that'd be like, what?
Then that's not even like a sequel.
The most important game in the series, like so far, like it has to explain so much. From 8 years of portable games, somewhere like that, 8 years of portable games, they have to explain. They have a lot to make up for, and sorry to get out of the context here, but with Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm worried about the Xbox owners and them not being able to catch up. You see, if you release a sequel on one platform that the previous games have not been on, you know, that's going to be a big issue for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that they have said that they want to, like, think of a way to help the transition for Xbox owners, because it follows logically that, like, if you bought an Xbox One, you've probably been buying Xbox systems for history. So I mean, they might include like some kind of like codex or something where you can read about what happened, or
sort of like what they did with Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah, or hopefully they'll port some of the remasters to the current generation and have those to help ease into Kingdom Hearts 3. But definitely a sequel, especially one as big as Kingdom Hearts 3, you really need to know what's happened. Whereas other sequels, you can kind of walk into them and catch up, I guess, you know, just like catch on after a while. And to use Mass Effect as an example, the first Mass Effect only came out on Xbox, and then Mass Effect 2 came out on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox.
That's what happened to me. I only played Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I haven't played the first one. So,
and they included like some kind of comic or something with Mass Effect 2.
There was a small comic thing where you can kind of just choose like the major decisions in the first game.
So, I mean, obviously, like, a comic would be a little weird for Kingdom Hearts. I guess there's the manga, so it wouldn't be too, like, out of universe, but...
That'd be interesting, actually.
It would be, but they would need to kind of catch you up in some way. And Kingdom Hearts 2 actually did that a little bit, too, with, like, the flashbacks, because it had story reason that Roxas, you know, he was having these memories of Sora's journeys, so... But it did also serve the purpose of kind of catching you up on what had happened up to that point.
What do you think they'll do in KH3 for that?
I'm not sure, really, because it's also an issue that the storyline of the Kingdom Hearts series is wacky. So, wacky and kind of colluded that they really need to tie it all together in Kingdom Hearts 3, but they also need to, like, make it coherent. So there's, like, a need not only to catch up people that are, like, that have missed some games, but to catch up people that have played all the games but just have no idea what the hell is going on.
Are we gonna sit through an introduction with like Yen Sid explaining things to I don't know.
Really
that would be awesome. Like last time on Dragon Ball Z.
You know what would actually be interesting like if this is just a theory. I mean, this is just amusing on my part, but like let's just assume that Kairi is playable for the time being, because at the end of Dream Drop Distance, you know, she's starting her training or whatever. It would be interesting if during that. The entire tutorial thing is you controlling Kairi as you know, like, learn the systems and everything. And during that, you have, like, Yen Sid or somebody kind of explaining what's happening because she really doesn't know.
Because she's been, like, unconscious or kidnapped for, like, every game.
Axel sort of has an idea what's going on, so, I mean, or Lee, I guess, now, whatever. So, I don't know, I'd like to see them all taking turns and leaving, like, so yeah, I came in and I saved the day, and Sora's just like, that's not what happened, and then pans over to the actual cutscene or something, you
just
know?
make it, like, really cheesy, like, everybody sitting around a fire, like, this is what happened.
Yeah, I think that I think that'd work well just from a tutorial standpoint as well, because
it's new.
Kairi doesn't really know what's going on, and if she's going to be training for something, she probably should know what's going on.
Yeah. And then there's always Jiminy's Journal, that they kind of have that too, so they could force you to read it all, but Kingdom Hearts is also...
Except, of course, those moments where it's just like, there's nothing in here anymore.
Oh, yeah. But it is kind of a kid's series. Not to say that we can't play it and love it, but it is made to be kid-friendly.
originally, but now it's a little...
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that was their intent, but now we've gone down a dark road of dead Xions and other things that aren't very, So,
that is true. I can't see them giving you like all this reading material and saying like go crazy. Like that was one of the big weaknesses of Final Fantasy 13, that they put everything in like this diary and you had to kind of read it to understand the world and what was going on. And I mean, I love reading, but
and Destiny, for example, that wasn't even in the game.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem, that they added that to supplement something that wasn't in the game. So with Kingdom Hearts, I'd love if there was like backstory in Jiminy's Journal that you could reference, but if they actually did something in game to cover it as well.
See, I'm evil, and I'm just like, fuck you, Xbox, so I just want this to be left in the dust, but at the same time, I know that's probably not going to be good for like the franchise if people don't buy the game, and that won't be good for the website either, so at the same time, I'm like,
I can pretty safely tell you right now that the split difference between the PS4 and the Xbox version are probably going to be like 80-20, if that. I know Final Fantasy 13, when that was released on the 360 and the PS3 version was still like 60% of the sales. So if you're, and that was with the 360 being like the dominant, I guess, console at the time.
Yeah.
So I can safely assume that like it's going to be on the Xbox, but I don't think they are really relying on that to make them a whole bunch of money.
No.
Plus, the Japanese audience don't buy Xbox.
I know. Like, I mean,
they don't buy Xbox consoles at all.
I mean, that's always been the thing, but like the Xbox One's even worse than the 360 for like like
we were talking about it before. Like they sold something like 200 units in Japan. Like 200 people bought an Xbox One in Japan.
Like it's like that's. I mean, we there's always that thing of it's Xbox doesn't do well in Japan, but
that's shocking. That
is shocking, because I mean, even the 360 at its lowest was selling like 2,000 units a week, and now it's just oh my god.
It would actually though be good for us as people on KingdomHeartsVideos.net if they didn't really catch you up, because then hopefully people would go back and say like, oh, let me watch some old cutscenes and maybe go on some forums and figure out what is going on. So I mean that.
But on the flip side, if people are just like, oh my god, this stupid game, I don't understand, and then like toss it at the wall, they're not going to come back. So they probably.
I'm worried, especially because my coworkers are like, some of them are interested in the Kingdom Hearts series. They haven't played all of them, and so like I'm worried that when they pick up Kingdom Hearts 3, they're gonna be like texting me like, who are all these people? Because they've played like the console entries, and I guess now with the HD remixes it is getting better, but it's still kind of bonkers. So there is that responsibility that a sequel has to not just, I mean, it can just go far and go with the universe, and I kind of expect that for like a third sequel, because at that point, like if you haven't seen the first two, you're probably not seeing the third one. But maybe like the second sequel, or like the first sequel, I guess it's so hard to refer to these, like the second entry, but the first sequel, it does have that responsibility to still be like an entry point into the series and catch people up that haven't really been with it before.
I think when speaking of video games, an actually really good sequel was Assassin's Creed 2. Because that is it caught, I mean, it the first game was kind of, it was all right, but the second game was not only just better quality, but it also did a very good job of tying together exactly what was going on. And in the first one, there wasn't really much going on in the present day. You just knew there's some company who needed you to do things, and you just kind of did it. And then at the end of that first game, you kind of had this cliffhanger of like, okay, there are some really freaky like signs, and I'm using abilities that I used in the Animus in real life now, and what is going on? And then the second game comes along and it actually expands upon that a lot, and like does a really good job of like letting you know everything that kind of happened in the first game and how it actually ties into what you're doing now. And it's a really good example of a sequel done very well.
And I think even that it's a sequel done so well that people tell you to skip the first game and just go straight to Assassin's Creed 2, which happened to me. I was trying to play the first Assassin's Creed. I'm like, I'm not really into this. Like, this is boring and I don't get it. And so everybody's like, just skip it and play Assassin's Creed 2. I'm like, oh, I never did, but... Yeah, so a sequel definitely does have to do that. It has to kind of hold your hand a little bit. But they could also just toss you into it and kind of hope that you catch up. But of course, that makes it hard for people that haven't been a part of the series before. So I guess we've kind of mentioned a lot of sequels that we liked and we didn't like. So I want to say, like, do you have, like, a favorite sequel? Like, one that just impressed you so much? And then do you have a sequel that you were just like, this is terrible and I'm so upset that they did this to the game or movie or book or whatever that I liked a lot before?
I don't know if this would count as a sequel exactly, but I guess Sims 4 kind of disappointed me a little bit, just because they're still doing, like, the expansion packs and everything, and they had and all the content that was taken out that they were gonna put in later and, like, charge us up the ass for it. I was like, guys, I know you're trying to make money, but I can't spend $60 on a new expansion pack each, like, other month that you put one out, so that was kind of sad.
Yeah, I think that does count, because with games there's the expectation that they improve upon the mechanics and, like, what didn't work quite right before, and Sims 4 didn't really do that. If anything, it took, like, a bunch of steps backwards, and it didn't look like, okay, so what were common, like, fan complaints with past Sim games, and how can I correct that in the gameplay and the, I guess, business model for Sims 4, and they didn't do that at all. They went, like, the opposite track and said, like, people hated this, but we're gonna keep doing it, like, 10 times worse.
Some of the stuff they just did for Sims 4, I will never understand why they did what they did, but more power to them to actually put out a product and some people buy it, I guess.
That's the thing about Sims, though, that EA knows they can get away with murder with Sims, because people will just keep playing Sims. It's just one of those
exactly
series. Yeah,
because I vowed not to buy it, but then as soon as I saw it and I realized that all the other Sim YouTubers were moving on without me, I was just like, I'm gonna have to go get this now, even though it's crap. I don't want to give my money to these people, but I did anyway, so I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, so as much as you hate it, you still buy into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that, get ready, because now I'm going to talk about Star Wars. Shock. Probably the best sequel in sequel history is Empire Strikes Back.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Did everything right, and it's kind of my favorite thing for a sequel to have everything go wrong. That I think that the first, like, entry of whatever, the first, you know, like, the first Hunger Games, the first Mass Effect, the first Star Wars, it kind of ends on a positive, sort of uplifting note. And you need that with the first one, that you need that small victory. And then the second one is the one where you can really just put people through the ringer and kind of kick the shit out of your fans. And that guarantees that they're going to come back for the third one. But the second one is always a very emotional entry for me, or at least that's what I like. And that is true of, like, Hunger Games. Catching Fire was probably the high point of the series, and it was the one where, like, a bunch of stuff went wrong. Mass Effect 2, things went really wrong in that one. And Empire Strikes Back 2, you know, you have the Darth Vader reveal, you have Han being frozen in the carbonite. It really ends on a very tragic note, and I love that. I think that is just the best structure if you're going to have a trilogy, and it's great. You know, Two Towers is also my favorite Lord of the Rings because of that. So, yeah,
those are all very good examples of a second entry to a trilogy.
Yeah, and so I think that it keeps the atmosphere of Star Wars, but it takes kind of a different tone. It sort of explores, like, the darker side of it, because the first one is a little bit lighter. And then, you know, the second one, they have you hooked already, so they're able to go into, like, the darker stuff, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sequels for me, that I actually really enjoyed. I already mentioned Assassin's Creed 2, but Uncharted 2 is another really high point for me. That is up there with, like, The Last of Us of my favorite game of that generation of consoles, which, surprise, surprise, they both had the same creative and gameplay director, so woo. But okay, another series that's really weird for me in terms of sequels was the Metal Gear Solid series, because I generally enjoy the 5 games that are out now, or 6 games that are out now, and I've generally enjoyed each sequel coming off each other. But there's always had, like, these weird low points. Like, I really enjoyed 1, and 2 was okay. I really, really enjoyed 3, and 4 was okay. And I'm sort of iffy on 5 right now. Or I should say iffy on Ground Zeroes. And I'm looking forward to Phantom Pain because that looks amazing. But it's that series has always been weird for me because even as much as I love that series as a whole, it's always had these weird dips in it that I wasn't entirely happy with.
And I think that's true of Kingdom Hearts for a lot of people. That, you know, as big a fan of the series that I think that we all are, we can admit that there are sequels that we just do not like.
Coded.
Yeah.
Coded days.
Recoded lows.
Yeah.
Like if anybody ever asked me, like, if I am completely new to the series and I want to play the least amount of games possible before Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out,
Coded is the first one they drop.
I would suggest the 3 games they play is 1, 2, and Birth by Sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love Chain of Memories, that is not entirely, it's not too important.
Yeah.
I feel like any game where the character will forget what's happening later isn't that because I mean in the journals Sora doesn't know about it, so well, does he? No, he doesn't.
No.
And in 358
yeah.
Xion doesn't exist, so there's that. The only one that really knows is Naminé and then Lee, and Sora doesn't know, and Roxas can't remember Xion, so, and all of that stuff, so I mean, you don't need all that.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of almost expected of long-running series, that it'll have dips in quality. I mean, as I mentioned, as much as I love Assassin's Creed 2, the Assassin's Creed series is very guilty of this.
It has things you can just kind of skip.
Yeah, it is. Assassin's Creed is a weird series where, like, maybe every third game is okay to play.
Yeah.
But though oddly enough, if you do that, then that means you're just waiting 3 years for every game, which is kind of normal for a sequel anyway.
Yeah,
so.
Especially when they're trying to push out a game every year, and the Kingdom Hearts series was trying to do this for a little while too. If you're pushing out a game every year, there tends to be a lot of filler and crap.
I mean, they still sort of are. The only thing, they aren't making new games, they're re-releasing games.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be a release sometime this year of something. But yeah, I think that's just kind of, it's hard to keep a series going for a long time and keeping it at an excellent quality that entire time. Especially if it's a story heavy series, because then it's just like, at least Ubisoft by Assassin's Creed 4 just said, who cares if nobody plays these for the stories. I mean, to be fair, the more interesting parts of the story for Assassin's Creed have always been the more historical interactions between people. But I'm still sort of bummed that they decided to just say, present day stuff, who cares? Nobody cares about that. We're just going to completely forget it exists now.
They could have brought up so much stuff from the modern day stuff as well. You know, that's what disappoints me. I want a modern day Assassin's Creed. I know some people say Watch Dogs, but I'm like, the thing is with Assassin's Creed, I'd love to go on skyscrapers, you know, go dive bombing and just assassinate and that kind of stuff. You know, like, I do find it kind of interesting to see kind of like the Templars and the assassins fighting within a modern day era, and I know the main mechanic of Assassin's Creed is to go back in time, but I'd love to see a different twist on it as well.
Yeah, I know. I actually sort of enjoyed the modern day stuff. I kind of hope that they do more with that, but then they just said F it and just got rid of everything. And like, well, okay then, I guess that's that. I'm trying to think of a long-running series that actually has, like, everything has been excellent quality, and I can't really think of one.
I'm not sure that's possible.
Yeah. I was about to say, the Legend of Zelda series, but even that has had dips in
it has
quality, so...
Yeah. How about you, Chris? Any sequels that you really just loved or hated?
It's not one I really hate. Like, I'm trying to think of one that I hate, but I can't really think of anything. There are some that I don't like that much. For example, Batman Arkham City. I know that's very controversial, but with Arkham Asylum, it felt like there was such a great atmosphere to it, and the story was excellent, and I didn't have to bother with the open world setting, you know? I really enjoyed Batman Arkham Asylum for that. So. Also, for some reason, I can't explain why, but I don't like Borderlands 2 either. I like the original Borderlands, so I'm very, very...
I am with you on
secluded
that.
in
I haven't actually beaten the second Borderlands. I've been playing... I played it a bit, and I don't know, something about it just doesn't seem...
as fun.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I mean, mechanically, I feel it's better, but like everything else just seems really off, and just I'm not really interested in it. Actually, a sequel that sort of disappointed me again, something I haven't finished because it sort of disappointed me is BioShock 2. I really loved the first BioShock game. That was like, it was up there as actually one of my first-person shooters because I've generally avoided that genre of games. And just playing through that, it was like, I really loved it. And going into 2, I was like, I'm not as in love with this as the first game. And then I learned that it was actually made by a different developer entirely. And then like, oh, that probably kind of explains it. But at the same time, I still want to eventually get through it because I want to play Infinite. Because
I really want to play Infinite.
Infinite's great. Infinite's fantastic.
I want to play it.
Yeah, I mean, there is always that danger with sequels that if you really loved the first one, how can a sequel possibly deliver on all of your expectations for it? So even if a sequel is good, it can be disappointing still. Yeah.
Persona 3 into Persona 4, they have very, very different atmospheres about them. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, they share like gameplay mechanics. They share a lot of that, but like the story and characters and just kind of everything surrounding those things are just so different from each other. Like it's kind of amazing after just playing them kind of back to back again, how different they are. And I love Persona 3 and I also love Persona 4, and I have difficulty deciding which one's actually a better game.
It's always interesting to me to see people, like, rank sequels, and, like, people put so much investment into it, even though probably nobody is going to ask you, like, what... like, I have spent so much time deciding, like, what is the exact order of quality of Harry Potter books, and in reality, nobody's going to come up to me and say, like, okay, so can you rank all 7 Harry Potter books? But I don't know, I just care so much about... deciding
like okay, on NeoGAF they held like a game of the generation of the PS2 area recently.
Oh. And
I put PS2, Xbox, that entire little era of stuff. And I ended up putting both Persona 3 and Persona 4 on there, which was first of all, that was a weird decision for me because I tried not to put like 2 games of the same franchise on my top 10 list.
Yeah.
But I ended up putting 4 above 3. And then playing through 3 just recently, I feel
you want to go back and change it.
I want to, but I can't. It's
I've
over.
made a mistake.
I know I've made a mistake, but I can't change it now, and I'm kind of sad about that.
Yeah. One sequel that I really love, and we talked about a little bit, but Mass Effect 2. I want to talk about Mass Effect 2 for a little while, because it really is a great game. Like, the gameplay, especially because I'm replaying the first Mass Effect right now, and the gameplay is terrible. I cannot believe, like, I remember when I first played it, everybody was telling me, like, oh, just, give the gameplay a pass, like, suffer through it, it gets better later, and I was like, oh, this isn't so bad, I like this, I like driving the Mako and everything, and it's not so bad, but now going back to it, I'm like, holy Jesus, I'm dying all the time.
I forgot that you started with 1. And because I started with 2, and then I played 1, and I was like, ooh, this is kind of...
Yeah. So not just that, but I also love that Mass Effect 2 really did take a very different direction from the first game in that it got, like, an entirely new cast of characters. I mean, you still had, like, Tali and Garrus and, others made, like, appearances, but you really did have, like, a lot of new characters, and that is kind of always a daring move to introduce so many new ones, but it was also so character-driven that Mass Effect 1, it had good characters, and you talked to them a little bit, you learned about them, but Mass Effect 2 was integral to learn about the other characters and do their loyalty missions, or else your ending would be not so happy. So
that's like the thing I really love about Mass Effect 2 was that it was so character driven, because I love character driven stories.
Me too.
And
it didn't pull its punches either. It made you love these characters, but it also, in that way, it made you care about the characters and you cared what happened to them. And that was something that I think was really missing from Mass Effect 3, that there wasn't this feeling of, I want to learn more about my squad's backstories, but more like, how has the war affected all of them? And that is an interesting direction to take, but it was a bit of a letdown for me from Mass Effect 2. So, I mean, but Mass Effect to me, too, really just perfected everything that was in it. It's one of those rare sequels that, like, delivered and then did, like, so much more on top of that.
I want to play through the Mass Effect series again, but I know
that's my problem. Like, I wanted to replay Mass Effect 2, so I'm like, oh, I have to play through all of them. But getting through Mass Effect 1 has been such a chore.
I know, and I know that there's probably going to be a remaster out soon.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
I still want to play it right now, but I don't know. Speaking of sequels, this is sort of a spiritual sequel, but Bloodborne is coming out this month, and I'm really excited for that, even if I'm probably not going to get it at launch because of sort of reasons. But the person I watch who's been streaming a game recently, Patrick Lepec, who now writes for Kotaku, he started streaming Demon's Souls because he's never actually played through those games despite playing through the Dark Souls series, and that kind of inspired me to play Demon's Souls in preparation for Bloodborne, because those two are very linked together in, like, it's almost like a brother of Demon's Souls, because it's not like a sequel, but it is still like stuff that, like, if you looked at it and you're like, this looks like a better Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
This year is actually full of sequels now that I think about it. There isn't really in speaking of video games, there isn't really an original game that I can think of that's actually coming out this year.
The Order 1886 came out.
I said coming out.
that is something I wanted to talk about here with the sequels thing, that the kind of one of the major criticisms that's been levied against the game is that it was basically a big setup for a sequel.
It was.
I mean, I think that the story going on there was decent, and that it did have, a defined, beginning, middle, and end, but the end was very much like, we want to do more with this. And then it comes to the question, like, this game was so short, you could have done more in this game and not set up as it was one of those games that came out with basically it wasn't hiding that it was going to get a sequel. Like, a lot of the times what happened is that, like, the first one comes out and it's so big and popular that they say, like, oh, well, we're going to make a sequel, because that, it just makes sense. And that's what happened with Star Wars, that, like, yes, Lucas wanted to do sequels, but it was, contingent on the success of the first one. And of course, the first one was way more successful than they could have ever dreamed or expected. But it was only after that success that they said, like, yes, we can do a sequel. But the Order 1886 kind of, I think that Ready It's On knew that they were going to get to do a sequel, and they made their game with that in mind.
I mean, when they were talking about, because they talked a lot about because it's a custom-made game engine.
Yeah. And
they put a lot of work into that engine, and it'd be a shame if that engine never got used again, because, dear God, that is amazing. But they were speaking very plainly from, since it's kind of reveal, or not so much from its reveal, but, like, a good way into, like, its press cycle, that this is very much a stepping stone for a
and I mean, we knew it with the title too, that it's the Order 1886, that 1886 could change, and whether the next sequel we get is 1887, or if we go back to, like, the 17th century or the 16th century, and, like,
maybe
see
1953.
Yeah, there's so much that they can do there, that I think that it wasn't a surprise that the game was going to a sequel, but it was still a bit of a disappointment that they kind of left the story hanging.
It's very much like the original Mass Effect, where you without the happy moment, because it's set up, because if you remember how Mass Effect 1 ends up, there's still this threat of the Reapers, that you know about, and you're like, we need to do something about this.
There is that lingering, like, threat that's going to come back at you, but you did defeat the big threat. You defeated Saren, and that to try to avoid going into spoilers with the Order 1886, because it did just come out so soon. Like, it came out really recently, that there wasn't Saren. You weren't trying to take down Saren. There was just that lingering kind of threat going on. So that was something that was missing from the Order. But it's interesting to me that nowadays developers can say, like, oh, I know I'm gonna get a sequel, and just make whatever game that they want.
that kind of also depends on whatever contracts they wrote up, because they could have signed on for, like, hey, we'll produce, like, 3 games for you, and then
and I think that goes back to what I was saying about how, like, the first thing, movie, book, game, whatever, has to have a bit of a triumphant ending, because they don't know a lot of the time if they're gonna get a sequel, because
otherwise you just end on a sad note.
So they want to wrap things up because they're not sure, and then eventually things do get sequels. But speaking about gameplay changes, to kind of go back to that from when we were talking about Mass Effect, I want to bring Kingdom Hearts back into it, because it's so rare that we get to talk about Kingdom Hearts on the KH-Vids podcast. But
that's
Kingdom
funny.
Hearts, Kingdom Hearts, the story, of course, we talked about that, how it's gotten a little bit colluded and how we need to catch up, but the gameplay has changed dramatically between
with each franchise.
Yes,
every single one. Not one Kingdom Hearts game has had the same gameplay system, which is really
the closest is Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2, but even that has some pretty fundamental changes to it.
Yeah, so that's
like
really
the reaction
interesting.
command system and that
The reaction commands, the drive forums, the limits, it added enough that they too feel very different. So I want to ask, is there like a Kingdom Hearts game that you feel just perfected the gameplay formula, or is there like still a ways to go that you want to see like what they do in Kingdom Hearts 3, and what do you want them to take from Kingdom Hearts 3? What do you want them to leave out in Kingdom Hearts 3? Like that idea.
Well, what I want from Kingdom Hearts 3 is a mixture between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. With the first Kingdom Hearts, there was a sense of exploration and sense of wonder and adventure, right? Because like you're looking through all these areas, you're solving puzzles to get to different areas, and that was really cool for me when I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, because that's actually the first RPG I've ever played, and I was stuck at Destiny Island, so I was like, I don't want to play this game anymore. I was like, and I'm so glad I went through Destiny Islands now. But once you find new areas, it feels so satisfying in the original game. And with Kingdom Hearts 2, I think it lost that, but at the same time, the gameplay was much better, much more fluid, and it didn't have issues like in Deep Jungle where do I go next? So there needs to be kind of a balance between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 when it comes to world exploration. I also think with the gummy ships between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, there was a huge dramatic difference in the fun factor of it.
Thank goodness.
Like for Kingdom Hearts 3, I was actually going to make a video on this on my YouTube channel, but where with the gummy ships, I want it to be open world. I want it to be like you explore different areas, different like subsections, different like little moons that have different like Disney cameos that wouldn't actually have a full world.
That would be awesome.
Just skip the whole battle sequence and actually have that in the open world itself and include side missions. So that's what I would love to see in Kingdom Hearts 3, especially with the next gen engine.
That'd actually be interesting. Instead of having like that like mini map that you have where you kind of just select the world from there, that you actually have a thing where you traverse from world to world while still having, that map just, fast travel that's in every open world game now. Actually, that'd be actually really cool.
Yeah, I think that the sense of wonder is really important too, and I think that Kingdom Hearts 3 by nature is just going to have that because it's this game that we've been waiting for so long, and especially the graphical leap that they're taking with it, that it's gonna look so different from everything, or not so like good. So different, but like it's so much better than everything we've been kind of used to. And especially what Nick told us about, he saw the little preview that they did at whatever it was, the launch party.
You bugger. Release that already, Square Enix. Come on.
And you said that there was like so much like little attention to detail going on, that the environments looked so alive, that I think that will really bring back the kind of splendor that Kingdom Hearts 1 had. Especially the big moment for me with Kingdom Hearts 1, it's later in the game, but when you're first dropped in Hollow Bastion and it does that big pan out from the castle and you see like the waterfalls, wow. And that's something that I think will really be there in Kingdom Hearts 3 because of the attention that they're putting to, like how it looks, and talking about like the kingdom shader, and they've said like, we want, like the color to look differently and the texture to look different depending on what world you're in. So I think that will definitely be there with Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's definitely one thing that I really want from it.
Would you like it to be open world? Do you want it to be a bigger world to explore rather than subsections that load for like 1 or 2 seconds that are small? And the second thing I just forgot, actually.
I actually like that. I actually like a world where the only load time that happened was when you first visit the world, and then have everything else just kind of explorable from there. Because, I mean, I feel you can get a lot more creative with the world design if it is just this one map that you have. That you can kind of make a whole bunch of like little like passageways or just like areas where you can just go here or go there or whatever. The only problem that could possibly come up with that is that they may want to include things that are kind of like beyond the scope of that. Like I'm just taking Agrabah for example. How you're in Agrabah itself, but then you kind of go off the map, and then all of a sudden you're at the Cave of Wonders, and there's not that really connect to them. Like you can kind of see them
like they're not going to make you walk through a desert.
Yeah. So like you can kind of see them in the backgrounds of each other, but there's this just very much like these aren't really connected in like a cohesive way.
Yeah, I think that kind of having a balance.
Yeah.
You know, that like Agrabah, especially in the first game, it's basically like 3 main areas like outside the palace, and then there's the Cave of Wonders. So if they like merge together those 3 main areas and make like big Agrabah city, and then have like maybe a load screen when you go into the Cave of Wonders, I'd be okay with that because that lets them create like diverse areas. But by its inception, Kingdom Hearts, it's about like different worlds. So like having the individual worlds, but having them be more open, I think, is where we're going to go. Because, you're still gonna, have to board the gummy ship and go from, like, Mulan to the Lion King. Not that we know those are gonna be in Kingdom Hearts 3, but those are what
I hope they're not. I think part of, like, not that it's not that I don't like them or anything, because I do. I love Lion King. Lion King is the best, and so is Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 2, but nobody agrees with me, so fight me.
I agree with you, Cal. I will defend Atlantica.
Though it's weird. I was playing through Atlantica on the, the 2.5 remix. It is harder now because they don't account for HD TV input lag.
Oh no.
There's some. I mean, it's still doable, but you have to kind of like adjust your timing because when it says you should do something, you shouldn't do it at that time.
I never thought about that. The second thing I just remembered. Sorry.
Oh. I would like, because you were saying the curiosity thing too, I would love them to just put in all new worlds, because we've seen, Halloween Town, I feel like, has been in here the most, even though I don't think it has. It's probably been the Halloween Town, right?
Wonderlands, the Calxiyn.
Yeah, I'm sick of Wonderland by now. God. Wonderland needs to go.
Wonderland's been in one game.
I want to see the new one.
Has it recoded and 358, right? Yeah.
It's
been so much they can do with Wonderland though, because they do so little with it. There's there's so much they can do with it, but they've only limited themselves to like those 2
if they switched into like the Tim Burton Wonderland, if you guys know which one I'm talking about, maybe it's a live action one, and that's way cooler. I mean, if they switch to that, maybe. But I want some new worlds in here.
Yeah, and I think that'll add to the sense of wonder that, like, the first time that you see, I mean, we all kind of think and know that Frozen is going to be in Kingdom Hearts 3. So, like, the first time that you see Arendelle in Kingdom Hearts 3, that's going to be a big moment for you.
San
just
Francisco
because.
For me.
yeah. So, like,
I want to see San Francisco so bad.
Yeah, that because Wonderland is kind of rehashed. Like, we kind of know what to expect. Like, oh, this is what the Lotus Forest is going to look like. But for them to throw like a completely new world at you will definitely be like a very big sense of wonder.
I mean, if we're talking about just continuing worlds and all that stuff, there's still my idea, which I know they'll never actually do, but I would really love worlds to have their own like unique storylines, not just a retelling of their like respective movies or whatever.
But that of course calls to them to like think up a unique storyline for every single world.
Yeah, I know, but because I mean, you could at least for I should rephrase that. At least for returning worlds, I would like that.
Yeah.
Because like look at Olympus Coliseum, and despite the fact that that's kind of been in everything, if you look at like how it was used in Kingdom Hearts 2 and how it kind of implemented like Auron and like this entire subplot that wasn't really related to the movie at all,
but was still super cool.
Yeah, it was still very Hercules-esque. So it was very like, this is Olympus Coliseum, that's for sure. But I still would love for any returning worlds that they have something more original and kind of tied in with kind of the arcing stuff. But
yeah, I will say, however, that Mulan 2 is one of the few decent Disney sequels. So I would not be upset if they did Mulan 2. Because it actually does have some good songs and stuff.
I would be so happy if they redid Hunchback, but I know that they're not going to do it. And the thing that gets me is that Hunchback was put in there because of popular demand or something, and they totally butchered it, and it makes me so angry to think about. Like, I'm already going to start to yell, so I'm going to
I feel the same about
take
Tron
some
Legacy.
deep breaths.
I feel the same about Tron Legacy. That could have been something that's 3 months.
So I'm hoping because it was a dream world that they'll go back to it, and maybe, I mean, we kind of established, like, Frill was a jerk and all that stuff, so maybe if it had its own thing going on, that would be cool. It's just, I'm so sad that it didn't get its I feel like it didn't get a proper place in the series, and it breaks my poor little heart. But other than that, yeah, New World.
Yeah, so it is always disappointing when, like, a sequel is just kind of like a rehash of what happened before, and I think that Kingdom Hearts has fallen into that. Like, as much as I love Chain of Memories, it was very much, you know, play through what happens in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Like that too.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Chain of Memories... the thing with Chain of Memories really is that you really aren't playing it for you're playing it for what happens in Castle Oblivion. You aren't playing it for anything that happens in those worlds.
But by that coin, the worlds become very tedious, especially if you played the first game several times.
The stuff in Oblivion really makes it up for me, but it is very much a drag to have to go through these things. Like, there's a lot of times where, can I just skip through this? Can I just go to the next floor, please?
Cutscene.
I don't care if I'm making the game like 30 minutes long. I just want to go through this thing as quickly as possible.
Definitely. And I think that Chain of Memories actually hit that, like, sense of wonder when you went to Twilight Town for the first time, because that was the first time we ever saw Twilight Town.
So
that was big.
Great. Even now, it's so good because, like, you're walking down Sunset Hill with this random person that you don't know, Roxas, and you see, like, the sun shining through, like, the other areas that you can go to, and it looks so pretty. And even playing on 2.5, I guess, I don't know, I forgot what Twilight Town looked like. I haven't played Kingdom Hearts 2 since I was, like, 8, so there was that, and I looked at it and I was filled with that wonder again, even though, I mean, I've seen Twilight Town before, obviously, so it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing in Chain of Memories was also really cool is that, because by the time, like, Chain of Memories was announced after Kingdom Hearts 2 was announced, and so we've been seeing, you know, media for Kingdom Hearts 2, and we've seen bits and pieces of Twilight Town, and we kind of knew, like, there's this weird kid, this blonde-haired kid, that was kind of in this city, and we're like, we don't really know anything else about it. And then Chain of Memories gets announced, and, you know, it gets released before Kingdom Hearts 2. And all of a sudden you're in Twilight Town in Chain of Memories, which, like, you've been seeing it in the media for Kingdom Hearts 2 all this time, and now you're actually in that world in this game, and it's like, wow. It's like, it's
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of, like, gameplay, I want to talk about, like, fighting mechanics a little bit too, that, you know, because we've had such different battle systems between each game, like, is there a particular title that you want them to really, like, borrow heavily from? And because I love Birth by Sleep's
I do too. It is
battle
really
system.
good.
I think that it hit a really good balance between, like, a lot of the fluid action of, like, Kingdom Hearts 2 and the, like, card system of Chain of Memories, which, while the cards were terrible, I know, Nick, you'll fight me on that. I hate the card system.
I will fight you on that.
I hate the card system too. Yeah. I hate the card system.
I hate it too, Misty. I can't get past Vexen with those stupid cards. And
Zero
so
cards.
I never
Just have a bunch
again.
of zero cards.
I know, I try, Nick. I try. But my poor little Calxiyn heart could not take it anymore, and so I had to stop.
They do complicate things, but they do add, like, kind of a necessary difficulty, because with Kingdom Hearts 1, you can kind of just mash X and you'll get through most battles. So they do kind of complicate things. So I think Birth by Sleep did a good point where, you know, you had to plan for each battle a little bit, but it wasn't as difficult as Chain of Memories.
I think Birth by Sleep was, like, the first time battles really got intense. It was a sign of, like, what Kingdom Hearts 3 would become.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But I do hope they borrow heavily from Kingdom Hearts 2 system more than others. With the flow motion mechanic from Dream Drop Distance, I really loved that action-paced, you know, bouncing off of walls and that kind of stuff. It was so sick on the 3DS.
And that's one thing that I think was missing a little bit from a lot of games that Kingdom Hearts 2 really did well, that it's just fun to play. It's straight up fun that you're, like, you know, you're 20 feet in the air and you've been there for, like, 5 minutes and you're just doing all these combos.
That's the only way you should be playing Kingdom Hearts 2, is that you should not be on the ground.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun, and I want that to be in Kingdom Hearts 3, and especially that we've seen, like, that Keyblade transformation thing in Kingdom Hearts 3 where he, like, uses them as guns. I think that kind of calls back to the, like, different modes that you could go into with Birth by Sleep. Like, Aqua had, like, the spell Spellcaster one. I don't remember what they're called. But,
yeah, the Spellweaver.
Spellweaver. There was like Ghost Drive and stuff. So
Ghost Drive is so amazing.
I know.
Yes, it is.
I really loved using that.
Yeah, so I hope that will be in Kingdom Hearts 3 with kind of like the Kingdom Hearts 2, joy.
Yeah, because I liked that you in Birth by Sleep you kind of had to plan out what your deck would have to look like.
Yeah, and I loved playing the command board. That was so much fun.
It is. It really is, and I'm kind of bummed.
Cool.
I was kind of bummed when when they announced that the HD version of Birth by Sleep wouldn't have online.
Yeah.
Because then I couldn't play the command board with anybody because.
Wait, could you play the command board on multi?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's on the. It's in the.
My mind is blown. I did not know.
Yeah, it's part of the Mirage Arena thing where you can do that and racing and.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was just like fighting each other.
Nope.
That shows how much I played Birth by Sleep with other people. But that'd be so cool if they had the command board in 3D or the 3 because like
yeah
exactly. You would have Sora and then Kairi and Axel and Riku, like all the Keyblade Masters playing against each other. That would be really cool.
They should just release a phone app of the command board.
I would play the shit out of that.
I would too.
I actually was saying that last week to my mate. I'm like, they should release that. That's so fun.
Yeah.
Square's already releasing Triple Triad on. If you don't know what Triple Triad is, it is an amazing card game from Final Fantasy VIII. They're already releasing that. It's already in Final Fantasy XIV, and they're going to actually release a phone app for that. And
I would love it too if they like integrated it with Kingdom Hearts 3, where like if you play the app a lot and you like get some cool stuff that like unlocks it for you in Kingdom Hearts 3. That would be fun. I would like that.
For the gameplay, I did like that you had to plan, but I also liked sort of the freedom of that what 2 had, where you kind of had everything at your disposal.
Yeah.
Where you kind of just decide, because I mean, as you mentioned, as was already mentioned, Birth by Sleep was kind of the series where it really had a lot of like intense battles.
Yeah.
Like I'm still remembering the unknown. I guess we can say it's young Xehanort because that's young Xehanort. That unknown battle in Birth by Sleep, which was really intense. That was just like that took a lot out.
And it was the first time that Vanitas or any of the characters in Kingdom Hearts actually threatened death on someone in the Kingdom Hearts series as well.
Oh yeah.
So that was like, whoa.
The only other times in the series where you've actually had like pressure on you was with the optional bosses, because the Enigmatic Man, or I guess Xemnas in the first Final Mix, was really difficult, and it was like he had so many moves that he can do, and he's just moving around all the time, and it was hectic. And then with Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, the Terra battle was also a very frantic thing to go through. So it's nice that in Birth by Sleep they kind of made that also true for just regular bosses.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love a combination of probably Birth by Sleep and something with Kingdom Hearts 2, because I really like the command system, but I also like maybe adjust it so you can have more commands at your disposal.
Yeah, that was one problem with Birth by Sleep, that you had like 5 or 6 and you were kind of scrolling through them.
Yeah, and then there's some commands that took like two spots, and it's just like, I'm not sure how, because you don't want to have so many where you're just scrolling through them on thing.
Find a balance, basically.
Yeah, you need to find a way to sort of make those work together, because I think that'd be really cool.
And the second question I wanted to ask you earlier, actually, I just remembered it. My big issue with the Kingdom Hearts series so far is like it's empty. The world's empty.
Yes.
Right. And the thing is, like, when you're in the Olympus Coliseum and there's a crowd cheering, like, okay, where's the crowd?
What is it? Aladdin saying he comes there for the people?
Yeah. Or like
totally
in the
empty.
ballroom in Birth by Sleep again, where all the guests were just starting to enjoy themselves and there's no one there. I feel like I want them to work that in now as like you can't see anybody because nobody's actually there, and you guys are all in like Daybreak Town or whatever. Like you're all in the realm of darkness, and you're just seeing like these are the
It's one of the reasons
still need some damn NPCs going.
Yeah, because it's one of the reasons why I really like Traverse Town, and
that was like the only world that had people like standing around.
I love Traverse Town.
In Kingdom Hearts 2, the only world that really had any NPCs was Radiant
Twilight
Garden.
Town. Oh, Twilight Town had a couple, too.
Twilight Town had a few as well. Those two were... But again, those weren't Disney worlds. So it's like they kind of... I guess they put all their effort into those.
Yeah, but it's so sad, especially like when you play Final Fantasy games, they tend to be very like alive worlds, especially, you know, I love Final Fantasy X. There's always people like standing around that, you know, you can chat with, they throw items at you, they sell to you. It's great. And Kingdom Hearts, you're like alone.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean that was actually a really big thing with 13 that was levied against it, where
there are no NPCs. And I mean
there's very few
you're like on the run in 13, so like I guess it makes sense, but still.
It was actually one of the as I was mentioning earlier with the 13 series, that the later two games improved upon things.
Lightning Returns, definitely.
Like towns, like Final Fantasy 13. I haven't played Lightning Returns yet. I have it. I eventually want to play it just so I can say I played it. But for 13 too, there are like these actual like cities, and there's like just people walking around, and you can. It was such a great thing because it's like we didn't have this before in 13. Now we actually have HD towns because. And that's one of the things I actually really liked about what they've shown of 15 so far, is that they've actually shown like, look at this huge city, and it's like actually filled with people, and you could actually like do stuff in it, and it was just having NPCs in the world makes it feel more alive, because otherwise it's just kind of boring to be in. Like the Lion King world is kind of guilty of that. Especially because there's just that one area that's just
like
huge,
a huge field, and you just
run
across
it. And there's nothing there. There's like nothing there. There is no reason for you to be there.
There's like not even trees or anything. It's just like flat.
It is. It's so disappointing because it's like there's so much stuff you could have done with this.
Yeah,
I mean, I do understand Lion King though, because I think the whole thing with that is that the Pride Lands have kind of turned into a wasteland since Simba's gone and everything. But I mean, there could have been some animal.
Yeah. It's honestly, says, "Why are you fighting for this stuff?"
Like honestly, I feel that portion of the map was made specifically for that one huge boss you fight.
Yeah,
and that's about it.
Yeah. But the games are such like vibrant and lively games by like nature that it would be nice for that to be reflected in the worlds.
Yeah,
exactly. It's so weird because I mean, in Disney movies you have people around. It's not like it's just the main, because Disney does a pretty good job with making like background people when they need it.
Yeah.
And even in like Beauty and the Beast is coming to mind for some reason. They could have had things like furniture and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked with Disney Castle is that you had the brooms walking around Mickey's like room or whatever. You couldn't talk to them, but it was nice that they were there, you know? So I feel like with every world they could have done something, like even if it's just, you know, there's a bird over there, Sora can't really talk to the bird, but you know, it's flying around him or something like that. It makes the world a little bit fuller and everything. So
you're not in just like empty flat rooms.
Yeah, which I hope that with what they've been showing of Kingdom Hearts 3, that I hope
it does seem like they're going that way.
With their detail-oriented.
Did it look more alive in that video you saw?
It did. Like, there was curtains moving in the wind, which I don't remember that ever being a thing in the Kingdom Hearts series. So, like, even Sora's hair was moving with the wind, and it was just like, and he was just walking around in this room, and there was like a chess piece. And...
They need to release.
They need to release
that. Unfair.
I can see why people, because we're so starved for information, but it was literally so unfinished. Like that.
It was rough, was it?
Like the part I'm talking about with the entire room scene that lasted maybe like 3 seconds. And the other, like, 10 seconds of that video was literally animations on a white background. With, like,
I still want to see it.
Like, there's like, 2 Heartless idle animation, which they look like new Heartless to me. And then there's 2, like, Keyblade transformation animations, and then the whole Daybreak Town thing. So it's like, I understand why people want to see it, because
we want to see something.
If you're a fan of the series, why wouldn't you want to see it? But it is so rough that I'm not surprised they haven't released anything.
Well, by now I think it would be polished.
Yeah, I guess, but it really just... I was honestly tempted to break the rules and record some of it, or at least take a picture, but I ended up not doing it because...
I'm so surprised nothing's come out of that.
I was too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I guess
these Kingdom
really
Hearts fans are such goody-goodies.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was there...
Yeah, I know.
I would probably be scared, too.
There was something with Nomura asking you directly not to record anything.
Nomura said, because I mean, if it was just an automated voice, but if Nomura was just like, guys, don't record my stuff, I would have been already in tears because Nomura's talking to me. You know, I wouldn't have the heart.
Yeah, because Nomura and Yoko Shimomura and Hashimoto were there, and they were talking. And then right before it ended, Nomura said something, and then his translator, translated what he said. And then it was the whole thing about not recording or not doing anything. It was like,
you can't defy Lord God Nomura.
like, it's not only that, it's just like when the creator himself is telling you something, it's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so we have a lot of expectations for Kingdom Hearts sequels, basically. And I they can obviously learn from, like, successful sequels of the past, like Empire Strikes Back again, how, it kind of took that darker tone that the Kingdom Hearts series has done that in some games, but,
Birth by Sleep.
Oh, yeah, it ends, like, not even just... Because at least Empire Strikes Back ends with, like, Luke with his arm around Leia. Birth by Sleep just, like, ends with everybody dying and you're, like, in tears and you're like, what?
The only solace you have is that you have, like, this takes place in the past and you see where things are at with Kingdom Hearts and you see things are somewhat getting better.
That makes it worse because you're like, it's been like this for 10 years.
Especially because if you watch the new, the final mix stuff in Birth by Sleep where they have the 0 point.
Yeah.
And Aqua's just been wandering around the world of darkness for like 10 years.
It's horrible.
And then she's talking to Ansem the Wise, and it's so sad because Ansem is talking about Sora and with the entire Keyblade stuff. And so Aqua's immediate reaction is like, "Oh, is their name Terra or Ben?" And he's like, "No." And it's like then no. She's like sad. Like,
that hurt so much when he was I was just like, Aqua, no.
Her hopes got up so much because she thought maybe, Keyblade, there's not at the time there weren't a lot of Keyblade wielders, so it's like it has to be either Terra or Ven. And then
maybe I sacrificed myself for something good to happen, but no.
I know that is part of Birth by Sleep is that they all think that they sacrifice themselves for each other, and none of them survived. I mean,
so Kingdom Hearts 3 has to make us happy, like that. It has to have a happy ending, please.
I think it's going to be dark though. I think it's really dark.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And I want it to be.
Yeah, because Kingdom Hearts has always kind of shied away. I was so hoping with Dream Drop Distance that they would take it to, like, a darker... Because the imagery, just in the cover of it, with, like, Riku rising and, like, Sora descending, I wanted them to do something really big with that. And they kind of did a little bit, but it didn't go as far as I wanted. So I want Kingdom Hearts 3 to do that.
Yeah, I'm really interested in, at least in Kingdom Hearts 3, if we're going to be talking about things with that, is that I'm really interested in seeing what the hell happens up with Aqua, because there's a lot... Well, not only because Aqua is my favorite character, but there's a lot of stuff that she has done and gone through and knows, and all this other just... She is such an important character, really.
Well, what I think is going to happen is, like Roxas's story in the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, I think we'll see Aqua's. For example, like in the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, we saw Ericus's Keyblade show up on Destiny Islands. How did that happen? And I think that's connected to Aqua. So I think we'll see something with Aqua in the beginning, or maybe a prologue kind of thing, or a demo of Kingdom Hearts 3, like the Final Fantasy 15 demo. So
that's actually a great point, that they can kind of catch us up on Kingdom Hearts by having, like, Aqua come back and be like, okay, so what's happened in the last 10 years?
What's happened to Sora?
Yeah, like, let me tell you.
That's actually... yeah, because, I mean, as I mentioned that with Kairi, you can also just do that with Aqua. So
yeah,
it's
have,
just
like,
kinda...
her asking Ansem the Wise, like, yo, what's the sitch?
Yeah, it's not even... I mean, she can even go to Yen Sid because she knows Yen Sid and all that stuff, so...
Yeah. We solved it for you guys, Nomura.
But I'm hoping that there is more than just Sora being playable in Kingdom Hearts 3.
I think it's inevitable.
Me too.
Because, I mean... Especially
I want
because
some consistency, though. I don't want the three-tiered story of Birth by Sleep.
No. I mean,
I
I don't want the Birth by Sleep where you have three sides of the same story type thing. But I do like... I would like another playable character within...
I mean... I'd sort of like, yeah, especially Kairi. But I'd sort of like them to do something similar to Dream Drop Distance, but
not as
then again,
like
the example I always use is Arendelle, because I don't know, I was gonna write something with that, but I'm not the Kingdom Hearts fanfic writer that I was back in the day. But I was thinking, like, so Sora's in a party with, like, say, Donald and Goofy, probably, and then there's Riku, Kairi, and Axel, because I think those are the only Keyblade wielders we got at the beginning of the story, right?
Oh, King Mickey also.
Yeah.
That's outside of Mickey, but
yeah.
Mickey's always doing his own thing.
But, and then Sora's just, then Elsa, like, shoots the thing of ice and she runs away and Riku's like, okay, Sora, we're gonna go follow Elsa, you stay with Anna, and then it switches back and forth between those point of views or something like that.
Yeah.
So you can still play and, like, rotate as everybody, but at the same time the story's still saying... Yeah, consistent, instead of Dream Drop Distance, where it was like sort of the same things are happening, but it's not, because you're not in the same like universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean with the last two like main entries to the series with Dream Drop Distance and Birth by Sleep have been multiple characters, that I think it's kind of likely that they will be multiple characters.
Yeah.
But
there's so many characters to cover as well.
Yeah.
Once we get started talking about like what characters will be playable, it gets more into a wish list, because I really, really hope like Aqua is playable, but that's probably not going to happen.
I think there's going to be a co-op mission mode or something like that.
That's like
so specifically nice. Can you imagine a horde mode?
Missions.
Love it. Want it.
I could see a horde mode working, just because I don't see how it can't work, to be quite honest. If Mass Effect was able to sort of pull it off, then...
But I was thinking like the co-op missions from 358 over 2 days, like something like that.
Those could work too.
Yeah.
But...
So Kingdom Hearts 3 is the big sequel, and I'm so glad we got to talk about Kingdom Hearts this episode, because it's been a while. But yeah, so if we can kind of wrap up the sequel discussion, yes... Yep. Okay. We can move on to user-submitted questions. To submit a question to the KH-Vids Podcast, all you have to do is fill out the form linked with every episode of the podcast, or send an email to podcast@KH-Vids.net. The questions can be directed towards the host in particular, or the group in general. They can cover Kingdom Hearts to KH-Vids, to our lives in general, anything like that. Send us a question. So the first question comes from Graxy, and he asks, what is your preferred brand and flavor of toothpaste?
What?
Pumpkin spice toothpaste.
Does that exist?
No, I'm just kidding.
I think all toothpaste tastes the same, almost.
No.
Me too.
What? Okay.
There's differences. There's obviously difference between them, but they're all mint. Like,
No.
what toothpaste do you use?
Okay, my family, this is like a big source of conflict in my family, that everybody uses either the mint or the cinnamon toothpaste, but I don't like those. I like plain regular toothpaste. So I buy like for myself the Colgate toothpaste, and then everybody else buys Crest, either mint or the cinnamon flavored one. And I don't want those. I like my regular toothpaste. So that's the one that I use. And I recently discovered that my mother was doing probably the most vile thing I have ever discovered in my life, which is mixing her toothpaste.
Oh.
So I mean, I don't know what would compel a human being
Mint
to
and
do
cinnamon?
that. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, but so I like the Colgate like regular.
I mean, what my family uses is just regular Colgate, but that tastes minty to me.
It doesn't.
So.
It's not that minty. Not compared to like Crest minty.
I guess I've never actually had something that said mint on the box.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, that's kind of what I just kind of use whatever gets bought because it's toothpaste. So I guess Colgate regular, because that's what everybody else in this family buys.
Yeah.
Out in the world.
What?
Oh, sorry. I guess my mic was off. That's not good. I said there is such a thing as cupcake toothpaste, which is scary.
Oh, man.
And
that sounds like it could go wrong, though.
Amazing. And I've also seen people with Oreo toothpaste.
Oh my god.
I don't know why.
Could you imagine waking up at like 6 a.m. and like putting some Oreo toothpaste on your brush? That seems weird.
Oh god, and have milk afterwards.
I guess that's better than just eating Oreos at 6 a.m.
I guess.
I feel like somebody would eat the toothpaste though, which is not good for you.
You should not eat.
It's really bad.
PSA: do not eat toothpaste.
I mean, I hate toothpaste in general. I hate brushing my teeth because this might sound gross. My gag reflex is really strong, and so I feel like I'm gonna vomit each time I brush my teeth, which I should probably get checked out, but no, I hate...
Did you know, actually, that you can, suppress your gag reflex?
Yeah, I know, I've tried. It doesn't work for me.
Oh, okay.
Like, to hold down your thumb, right? Is that what
I realized that I couldn't explain how to do that, like, over voice, so I was gonna send you a picture later, but there are ways to, help that.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on to another question.
Learning how to suppress your gaggle reflexes
No.
on the KH-Vids Podcast.
The next question is from Knight of Fafnir, or Tail, and he asks, what is your favorite Keyblade? And I'm sure we've answered this before, but I don't care. I'll ask you guys it every month.
See if it changes.
Yeah.
I'm fond
I'll
of
go
Oathkeeper.
traditional Kingdom Key.
Yeah. Kingdom Key is nice. I like Oathkeeper as well, though. Oathkeeper is really nice. I also really like Master Eriquist's Keyblade. I think it just looks cool. And I like Destiny's Embrace as well.
I love Kyrie's. Yeah, that's Destiny Embrace, isn't it? Kyrie's and Oathkeeper. Those are mine.
Yeah.
Like, they hit me right in the heart.
I don't know why I like just on my recent playthrough of Birth by Sleep. I didn't really pay attention to Keyblades when I first played it because I just kind of kept with the same one the entire time. I didn't realize Aqua gets that Destiny's Embrace Keyblade.
Oh yeah, Kyrie gives it to her.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like not gives it to her, but she gets it after you meet Kyrie.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I used that one.
I actually like Aqua's like standard Keyblade design.
Yeah, it is nice.
And
everything about Aqua is just amazing.
I can't remember what the other one is, but it has a bunch of ice cream on it.
Oh,
What the hell?
I love that one. I mean, I feel like I'm on, every time I talk about something Kingdom Hearts related, I'm always on my own team. Like, when it comes to Atlantica, I'm the only one
I like the
fighting for it and
Atlantica
stuff
singing.
like that. Yeah.
I enjoy rhythm games in general, so I didn't find Atlantica too bad. I thought it was just
The
kind of
songs are so bad, though.
like
Swim this way, we'll dance
Oh!
and we'll play. It's so terrible.
I love them all, even though they're not like Alan Menken, Howard Ashman kind of music.
Ursula's Revenge.
Ursula's Revenge is my favorite.
Come
because
like little
Sora's just
poopsies.
Like, yes. Sora's just like, your poopsies are toast. And this is the same game that has like Master Xehanort's really dark, disturbing quotes in it. So I mean,
it's great. I love it.
It is.
It's a train wreck, but I love it.
People like looking at train wrecks.
Yeah, but speaking of Keyblades, there's that Winnie the Pooh Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 2 that like nobody would ever use it, but it has like it doubles your luck. So if you're like synthesis farming, that's the Keyblade you have to use, and it makes like these ridiculous noises, and it's hilarious.
it's so cute. My sister me plays. She always wants me to equip, and she's not like years and years younger than me, because she's only by 2. But even still, every time she's just like, "You have to use the Winnie the Pooh Keyblade, Cal."
And you're like, it has like a 10 attack stat. No, I can't.
I think the Guardian Soul Keyblade is pretty badass.
That's what Orin gives you?
Yes.
Yeah, that one is cool.
Yeah, in general, I think a lot of the Keyblade designs are kind of cool. There's a few kind of
ridiculous.
Like I think the Bond of Flame one, what you get from Axel, is kind of stupid looking.
Yeah,
that's just no. But in general, I kind of like them. So, but I still like Oathkeeper the best, and then followed probably by Aqua's. I don't even know what it's called. Is it Stormfall?
Something like that, or like Rainfall.
Rainfall, yeah.
Okay, there it is. It is. The Rainfell is the one that she starts off with, and then the Stormfall is like the upgraded version of that original one.
Okay, next question is from Shu, and he asks, if you could make anything at all, either legal or illegal, what would it be and why? I would like to quote from one of my favorite comics, A Softer World. This is number 469. And it goes, "It was a sweet day when I realized legal and illegal had nothing to do with right and wrong."
That's a good quote.
Yeah, it is a great quote. So that's how I'm choosing to respond to this question. That I was tempted to say like, oh, well, I would make like racism illegal and like sexism legal, but making something illegal does not do anything. So too bad. So, I mean, weed should be legalized. That's the only other thing that's coming to mind. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I mean, that's, as I said, that is a good quote. And just because you legalize something or make something illegal, people are still going to probably do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Especially when it
comes laws.
especially when you when it comes to stuff like racism or stuff like that's kind of it's an idea, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you can't really do anything about those, but yeah, I'm not sure. What would, I mean, if I was going to think of something practical, I'm not sure what I'd guess I'd make something about corporations giving insane amounts of money to political candidates.
Yeah.
Illegal?
Yeah.
Can we please overturn Citizens United?
Yes, I was just about to say that.
But I guess that probably be my number one thing.
Yeah, pass
in
the Equal Rights
sense.
Amendment.
Well,
that
too. That'd be more my legal thing than my illegal thing.
Yeah.
For me, something I would like to make legal is, being able to. It's not exactly illegal, but like being able to own your own online media, like games or movies and stuff like that. That's something that bothers me. Like, you should be able to like sell and buy, and trade your digital items, right? And you should have the right to own it rather than rent it. So that's something I would make illegal.
There's been some moves for that. I know
in Europe.
And I think Germany specifically. Yeah. There's some stuff with Valve that's going on where you can do stuff, but that'd be nice. For consoles, I just want to be able to gift somebody a game.
Yes.
Like, it's something so simple. Why have you not implemented this yet?
Yeah.
I do it on Steam.
Yeah, I know. It's literally you can just literally buy a license and then just give that license to somebody, and then that's there. It's done. Why can't you do this?
Yeah, I think that copyright laws thing is interesting, though, because, like, copyright laws in general need to be re-examined in light of the internet. And not just for games, like music and movies and everything, but for games too, that, you have these content creators on YouTube that, would like to make a living out of that, but it's really hard because you run into that legal territory of, like, is it, am I allowed to make money off of, like, yes, I'm creating my own original content, I'm doing a voiceover or something, but I'm still, like, putting up footage of somebody else's game. So it falls into a shady legal territory. YouTube accounts that can be sources of people's livelihood can be taken down for copyright notices.
They definitely need something solid for that, because people have the right to know if something's good or something's not good, or the free speech in YouTube is definitely suppressed by copyright law. So that's something I'd make legal.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, as with anything in world, if you're big enough and you're powerful enough, you can skirt around those laws.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to take down PewDiePie.
Yeah.
But, like, a small little YouTuber, they have trouble with that. I mean, our
like me.
Yeah, like, I mean, even I knew somebody who was actually making somewhat of a decent, like, living off of YouTube ad revenue and stuff like that, and then just changes to their policy about how much money you make off ads and, like, all this other stuff.
It can destroy you.
Yeah, it basically did.
That is killing me right now, that AdSense is taking so much of my money, because I think I've been making, like, $20, but AdSense takes so much that it's reduced to $2. Yeah. And that's all I've made for 2 months. And I mean, I haven't been uploading as much as I should. But even still, it's ridiculous how much money they take from you. And I mean, YouTube needs to live, right? But even still.
Yeah. But then I think that's why people turn to sites like Patreon, where, where people are pledging money just to support you, and it's not necessarily connected to the video. Like, some people do, like, oh, give me, $5 for every video I upload, but it's another way to kind of circumvent that. But I wish that, people wouldn't have to, that they could make, like, proper revenue off of the ads. Yeah, because a lot of the people, they're not doing it, to become, like, rich and famous. They're doing it like, oh, if I make a certain amount of money, I can buy better equipment or something like that. And just
they want to do it for a living rather than go to a full-time job and do that at the same time.
Exactly. Like, I know that I can't do this full-time, but I would like to have some extra money just coming in for anything, right? So, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine people that are doing it for a living. Like, even, I mean, PewDiePie's a bad example because he's doing pretty well. But other YouTubers that are like, well, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put all my time into this. I guess it's like acting and stuff too, but that's dangerous.
Yeah, it's weird because that person I mentioned, I've noticed how he put a lot of time into, like, his, like, making thumbnails and doing all this, like, making sure his channel was, like, everything is uploaded and everything's, like, is in a sequence to each other.
A job.
And stuff like that. And he put so much effort into that. And then at one point, because he also streams a lot, at one point during a stream, he just went on, like, I don't even bother with that anymore because nobody cares. And I put all this time and effort into things that I rarely get enough out of it to make it worth it, and it sucks that I have to do this, but it's like it's the only way I can actually continue doing what I do.
Yeah, and
I want to do anything.
I wish that the job market would kind of evolve to reflect that, because this is something that a lot of people our age love to do, you know, create content on YouTube, do podcasts, you know, maintain websites and stuff. And like, there are careers for that, but they're definitely kind of limited. So like, I love the idea of, you know, like sites, like review sites. And we talked about this when we talked about reviews, that like a lot of people don't read reviews anymore. When they want to know about a game, they just like check out a video of like somebody playing it or talking about it and stuff. So for a site that is very focused on reviews, for them to pay people to do that, I think that would be amazing. So if you're interested in like, you know, creating like Let's Plays and stuff, definitely look at like sites that might have openings for like media creators and stuff, because that would be awesome.
And also like check out the companies that allow Let's Plays too.
Yes.
There's companies like Ubisoft, for example, who allow Let's Plays, and actually a lot of people encourage it. So check that out.
But yeah, there are a few companies like Nintendo that have some rather sketchy. We're not even sketchy, just like they just don't they try to do something, but they're still not doing what they're doing, what they should be doing. But most, to be honest, in regards to game companies, a lot of them are actually kind of chill.
I think so, especially now that the consoles have it built in, or the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 do. They kind of have to be chill about it because people are allowed to upload this stuff.
There's a few instances where, I mean, the only instances where I've seen companies really get bummed out, or like they start bringing legal force against things, is when it's like a very story driven game, and they're like, I know Telltale was like that with some of their games, because I mean their games are all about the story. So they're
open now. They're open to it.
Yeah.
I think that at a certain point they realize that, you know, it's bad publicity for them to be against it. That, you know,
even Rockstar sort of had a thing where they didn't like having their videos of their game up. They relaxed about it like a few months after release. But like during that month when it's just released and doing all this stuff, they're kind of really uptight about it. Like I know they did stuff with LA Noire. I think they did stuff with Grand Theft Auto 5 as well when that first got released. But I think generally people are kind of okay with it. Companies, I should say, are okay with it. Companies are not people.
It's not like games are like movies, where like if the ending of a movie is spoiled for you, then there's sometimes not much of a reason to see the movie. But with a game, even if you know what the story is and how it ends, you still sometimes want to play it. So I think that they do need to realize that, rather than take action. Yeah. But that is a definitely really interesting issue that I would love our legal system to catch up on. And, you know, that extends to like music too, that, you know, this whole system of like buying an album so that you can listen to it, it doesn't really work anymore when you can just go on YouTube and listen to it. So, you know, like as much as I don't like Spotify, you know, having a service that you pay into and you just have unlimited access to music, that seems like it's where we're going, and our legal system does need to.
There's a lot of systems like there's Spotify, there's Google Music,
and I mean, you know, we're seeing the same things with television and movies like Netflix. You know, that is like the new system that you just pay a monthly fee and you have access to all this stuff.
It's all immediate, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Immediate gratification, that's what we want. Yeah
we want to be able to binge through a show in a day or two, like I've done on very many occasions.
Yeah. The next question and the last question, it is technically directed towards me, but I think a lot of us can comment on it. So it is from Quilgan, or Drew. And he says, "Hey guys, so I just purchased and played Life is Strange, and me, being a dude teenager, I gotta say, this is such a great cinema game. So my question to Misty is, what do you think will go down in episode 2 out of time? And what do you think of the characters like Max and Chloe and Warren and Victoria?" I have a lot of feelings about Life is Strange.
I have a lot of feelings too.
Yeah, I was so excited for Life is Strange, and this is one of the first games that really like delivered on its hype and that I was so pleased with. And so I really loved Life is Strange to start off with, and I wrote a big post about it on my personal blog that I can definitely link anybody to if they're interested. But yeah, so episode 2, I mean, they set it up a lot. You know, we're gonna, you know, explore the mechanic of the time travel definitely in more depth, because Don't Nod has said like there's a little bit more to it than we saw in episode 1. So we're gonna see that. There was of course the big like train cliffhanger, which is I think is what the episode 2 out of time title is like suggesting, out of time, get away from the train because you're out of time. So, I mean, we're going to see what happens there. And then I just think that we're going to learn more about all the characters that were presented to us. Because one of the big complaints that people had were that, the individual characters, especially the ones that you interacted with at the school, were very tropey in a way. There was like the science nerd and like the artistic one and, that kind of thing.
To be fair, you had like one conversation. Exactly.
So I think that, as the episodes go on, maybe not in episode 2, but in later episodes, we'll talk more with all of them and we'll interact more with them, and that, trope will kind of be deconstructed a little bit and they'll get more of a backstory and more of a character, especially like Kate, the religious one, and Warren, especially, that, gradually. And then, of course, Max and Chloe are amazing. That Max is really, she's kind of the blank slate in a way. She's kind of innocuous enough that anybody can kind of really relate to her, which is sometimes what you need in a protagonist and which functions really well in Life is Strange. So Max is good. I mean, she's good. I don't have the extreme emotions about her as I do with Chloe, who I absolutely adore, which wouldn't surprise anybody because that's like my icon on KHV right now.
That's my icon right now as well. So.
So I was really taken with Chloe. I think that Chloe is like everything gaming needed right now because she's badass. She's really tough and she's she doesn't take your she smokes and she listens to weird punky music and dances weird and drives some beat up pickup truck, and she is a little tropey too, the whole like manic pixie dream girl thing, but there's also a very real effort being put into her backstory, like she's a victim of sexual abuse and that she has this horrible family situation, she has these daddy issues, that she's had a life.
Like her current stepdad is
oh boy
quite a character.
Oh boy, yeah. And so it is really interesting, and I'm so excited. Yeah, you really should.
I haven't played the first episode. I've only played a bit of the demo. I'm getting that feeling of like Gone Home mixed with Heavy Rain.
I haven't played either.
You haven't played either.
But like everybody tells me to play Gone Home and Heavy Rain, saying like I know you will like these games. So I was especially interested in Life is Strange because it was kind of advertised as like Twin Peaks meets like Heavy Rain.
When anybody ever says Twin Peaks, I'm immediately interested in what they have to say.
Yeah, but I think that what especially drew me to Life is Strange as a feminist is that it's focusing on teenage girls, which is something that we don't see in video games. Like at all. I mean, Last of Us, I guess, kind of opened the door to that. But we don't see it a lot in video games. And then when we see it in, movies and books, it's always kind of ridiculed a bit, like we think of Twilight and stuff like that. And it's made to be a little bit pathetic. So for Life is Strange to make this it's gotten great reception. To make this like very, meaningful dialogue about teenage girls and sort of the struggle of teenage girls and, teenagers in general, but especially these two teenage girls at the forefront, was really important to me. So I love that. I really love Life is Strange.
like Cassie, I was kind of pleasantly surprised that it kind of delivered on kind of what I was expecting out of it.
Because that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, I've following video games for as long as I have, you learn that you're just going to be disappointed a lot of the time, and you never learn. You never learn, and you will always expect the next thing is going to be, oh, this will be different, and it's never different.
But Life is Strange was different.
Except when it is different, then it is different. But it is. I really enjoyed, kind of like the first episode is very much a setup.
Yeah.
For a lot of stuff. Like it's very much just an introduction to not only the mechanics but just kind of the characters, and just kind of you aren't entirely sure what is going on. Mm-hmm. They give you like glimpses and stuff like that, especially with Max, the entire like tornado thing. You kind of get you see that at the beginning of the game, and then it's just kind of there, but it's kind of there's a lot I feel that they can do with it. And I'm really excited about what they can do with it, and I'm kind of disappointed that the second episode's been delayed. It was already kind of hard that there's going to be 6 weeks between each episode, and now that the second episode's been kind of delayed to, I don't think they haven't even given a date. I'm going to assume it's probably sometime in April.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it being too long of a delay, but still delay is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But there's a lot about that game that I kind of really like, and I hope that more games kind of do. because, I mean, at least in this genre, because, I mean, for adventure games such as this, where you have it's choice-based and all that other stuff, you kind of just have Telltale kind of being the company who makes like story-driven, choice-based games nowadays, and they are an awful company. Not so much to say quality of their games. They're pretty. I mean, I've only really played through the first season of Walking Dead, but the quality of their games on a technical level are just horrendous. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who have a lot of difficulties with their games and how their games just sometimes decide to erase their saves, which is just awful and just. Yeah. So I mean, Life is Strange has its technical hiccups, like the lip sync thing is kind of there, but I really want more companies to sort of do this kind of game because it's still not something you see a lot of. There's Quantum Dream, who has their own take on, you know, the Heavy Rain and Beyond and stuff like that, which it's sort of the same thing. I feel like Heavy Rain and Beyond is very much more QTE heavy. There's a lot of like in Heavy Rain, and actually both of them, I can say both of them. In both of the games, there's more than just choices. There's buttons on the screen that kind of determine what actions your character take. And like in Heavy Rain, there's a driving section where you kind of have to flick the controller in certain directions for driving, or hit a button or hit buttons to do stuff. And that's not really there in Life is Strange, or it's very much like
is there consequences though for your actions?
Oh,
like,
yes.
Yes. There is.
It was the first episode, so not really that many things.
Don't see that yet.
Yeah, too many things didn't really pan out yet. But the game is very much about short-term consequences and long-term consequences, because you can reverse your actions. Like, you can see the short-term consequence and maybe change what you did to get a better outcome, but then there is that always hanging over your head, like, will this affect what will happen later? And, you know, you're questioning that. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, it has that Telltale thing, like, this will matter later.
Yeah, it has this little, like, butterfly that comes up in the corner. It says, like, this action will have consequences. And, like, I felt anxious every time that came up.
I really love that rewind mechanic because of just, I mean, not only for choices and stuff like that, but for just, like, gameplay stuff. Like there's this section where there's people throwing a football and somebody gets hit with it, and you can kind of rewind it and prevent that person from getting hit. But for the choices thing, it's it makes you really anxious because you get to see everything, and then you're at this point where I don't know if I should stick with this, or should I rewind and choose something else, or it makes it very hard to just stick with the decision because you can always kind of go back.
Yeah, it basically acknowledges that a lot of people, when they're playing a game like Dragon Age or Mass Effect, if they do something wrong, some people will, like, reload their entire save just to, like, fix it because they're so upset about it. So, like, it just enables you to do that with, like, an in-game mechanic. So it's awesome.
I'm really interested in seeing how some of the consequences will go, because
we talked about doing a spoiler cast with Life is Strange when the first episode came out, but we decided that'd be probably better to wait at least until a couple more episodes finish, if not the entire, like, season finishes, just formaically, and to not spoil people.
I need to binge so many things because I don't want to miss out on any of them.
There's a few spoiler stuff that we want to do, but we're kind of waiting.
Yeah.
This year's going to be huge for games.
Oh, yeah. 2015 is going to be awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that concludes our user submitted questions. And once again, you can submit by filling out the forum links with every episode of the podcast, or send an email to podcast@KH-Vids.Net. I don't have any community news to mention. I don't know if you guys do, but
I just have the game of the month. This month is Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, which we are in 2015, and apparently a remaster is still the most exciting thing people
want. Technically it's a new game.
Yeah, I know. Technically it's a new game for most of the world.
Yeah.
I just always find that funny. Like, 2015 and something with HD in its title is sort of winning out.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, well, there are many ways that you can participate in the KH-Vids podcast. Like we said, we can submit questions. You can submit a topic to the KH-Vids podcast by filling out the form in the sticky in the podcast section, and you can opt in to be a guest on that episode of the podcast, which gets you on the podcast pronto. And you can also suggest doing a spoiler cast if there is a game you just finished or a movie you just watched or something like that, and you really want to talk about it. Suggest it for us to do spoiler cast, because chances are we might have played it or we want to play it, and we'll do an episode about it. You can also submit to be a member guest on the KH-Vids podcast by filling out the form links with every episode of the podcast. All you need is a Skype account, a microphone, and headphones, and we would love to have you. And yeah, so that is our episode, and because we have a member guest this time, I will open up the possibility, if you want to plug, I think you said you have a YouTube channel, so if you want to tell us the channel name so people can check it out.
Sure. That's not the only reason why I'm here. I really want to join. So, yeah. Just saying. If you, for some reason, if you put in youtube.com/LockedOnGamer, it doesn't work. So just search Locked On Gamer, and my videos will come up. I've done a few videos on the top 5 worlds I want to see, and I've also done a video about what if Birth by Sleep Volume 2 could be like a demo or a prologue for Kingdom Hearts 3. So check those videos out.
Yes. Definitely. And I will include a link with the podcast episode because I'm nice. Yeah, so that concludes episode number 83. I'm so excited that we got to talk about Kingdom Hearts today because we never get to talk about Kingdom Hearts. So, yeah, that was great. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for listening, and have a Kingdom Hearts day.